Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome. Come on in. Have a seat by the fire. Just take care not to get burned. Thank you for joining me in the Spellbound Soirée. Welcome to the Spellbound Soirée, your one-stop shop for everything the Enclave and the City of the Spire. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Or even those outside. Especially those outside. It's that time of year again. The cold is creeping into our fair region. The children of Bira have been spotted in the forests. We expect them to begin ravaging the countryside in the coming days. As always, they will turn our home into a frosty wasteland. Those caught without protection may die. Crops will die. Strangely enough, cows and other livestock are generally alright. Not exactly sure why. I will say this, though. If one should come into contact with a frost spirit, it would be very ill-advised for anyone to attempt to slay one of these spirits of frost. For it is said that when one does, they will feel the wrath of Bira. We, the mages of the Spire, are keeping constant vigilance as the cold winter continues to creep its way into our fair region. Ice may be cruel and inhuman, but we can create the warmth that will melt it. Literally, I've got fireball and everything. Anyways, we've begun allowing for those who live outside our city walls to make their way in so that we may all stay warm and safe during these times. The provisional housing on the wall has been set up so that no one will be living on the streets. I keep telling the council that we need to set some sort of program up so that we can protect those who cannot make it into the city at this time, or those who refuse to do so for whatever reason. They keep shutting me down, saying, "It's not feasible. We can't just waste these resources." I want to make it absolutely clear. Lives are not a resource. Setting up institutions to protect one another is not a waste. I think someone needs to remind them that we, as in the mages, do not work for them. Now, let's get on with the broadcast. I realized something after the last broadcast that I feel I should address. I mentioned that elves had been spotted in the forests, beyond and around our city. I mentioned my intrigue at their culture, and a sort of potential exchange between ours and theirs. However, what I failed to explain to some is how or why these elves are different from the elves that have been a part of our culture since prior to the Old Kingdom. Elves, and by extension half-elves, have existed in our society for millennia. We all know this. Many of you listening are elves. The elves mentioned last time are, of course, not the same. One of the Spire mages, good friend of mine, Morthal, has come into contact with them. They are known as the Umbra. They come from the lands beneath, and have come up mostly out of curiosity. It's probably worth noting that Morthal herself is a half-elf. She has ventured into their lands and will report back soon on what she discovers. I've received a few reports on a mushroom forest appearing in the south, near the foot of the mountains. Supposedly out of nowhere. These fungal giants have just popped up. Some of the Apothecary Guild have ventured into the forest to take some notes. Aside from the sort of mushroom trees that appear to have been many types that have also popped up with them. Normal-sized mushrooms, these ones. Too many for them to catalog in the short time they've had. They've sent me reports of 3. 1, a brown mushroom that looks and tastes a bit like a loaf of bread. 2, a red mushroom with pink glowing spots that the alchemists claim will aid in reproductive rights. And lastly, a multicolored mushroom that has been noted to transmogrify when consumed. The alchemists believe that there are untold variations in how one may be changed when they consume this particular mushroom. Thus far, one of the alchemists has grown a tail, another became a man, and the third is now a humanoid cat. Very strange. Their research continues. I mentioned last time that I received a writ from my uncle, Roger, a magistrate in the kingdom of Lodbrokheim. I won't go into specifics, but I was able to help him. Very strange business, that. I guess I'm a paranormal investigator now. Anyway, on a side note, possibly related, has anyone ever been to a pocket realm where the floor is a still puddle of water and the sky is starry and night? No? Alright then. Theo, or the Hammer, have put forth a petition to absorb the Adventurers Guild. They claim that there's no need for the Adventurers Guild, and their skills would be better put to use as a part of their militant faction. Edith Thornton has put in a formal response that is as follows. Eat shit. No members of the council have weighed in at this time, though I'm told they have been made aware of the request made by Theo. Fester, the professor from the Spire who went missing with the arcade some weeks ago, has reappeared, though he is no longer among the living. As such, he has decided to join the League of Extraordinary Exuviae, or Ghosts. He has also informed me that rather than Fester the Professor, he prefers the shade of Fester now, or just Fester. Since his return, he has met up with our intern here, the Howling Spectre, and he's been trying to piece together what happened, and to find his 2 Goblikin assistants, Rut and Slurk. If anyone has seen 2 Goblikin in the vicinity, find Fester, I guess. He's kind of all over the place. He jumps around a lot. I guess you could also report it here. The new guild, the Cultivators, have grown to an extraordinary size in just a few days since their founding. The founders, Selenos and Old Tom, have been hard at work, drinking in the woods and munching on various mushrooms that they can find. They claim they've seen many new members. Strangely, though, they don't stick around for too long. But new ones take their place frequently. They've also mentioned a few Fae joined for a time, but eventually they too left. Curious. They probably just got bored. The council have put forth a mandate that Theo should get to work searching for an entrance into what they're referring to as the Realm of Shadows. This is where they believe the children who have gone missing due to playing the card game created by Lucan Bellerophon. Mr. Bellerophon has still refrained from commenting on the incident, and has gone so far as to retreat into his mansion on a remote island to the north. Some of the parents have claimed that he has come to them in their dreams, saying that he has taken their kids as ante, and if they want them back, they have to venture to his island and beat him in said card game. A rare sight for these parts. A merchant vessel from the Macabre Republic. We've been calling them the Order of the Slingers, but apparently their official name is the Macabre Rangers, though sometimes they're referred to as the Macabre Diavols, meaning something like the Devils of the Iron Mesa. when I met with some of them, they told me a bit about their group. They said the Rangers act as a sort of paramilitary force and investigative law enforcement that have recently been looking into the political corruption of many of the towns in their region. Besides what they told me, they showed me some of their wares. Many hats to keep the desert sun out of your eyes, a few wands they used to focus their aether, and one thing I actually did pick up from them, a sort of gauntlet with runes on it. They said they had found it in an old ruin down in the mesa, and were uncertain about its origins. But they did reassure me that if I felt drawn to it, there was probably a reason. I think by now we all know Maeve and her grandson Miskun. A few weeks ago he went missing, and Maeve had felt drawn into the underworld in an attempt to find him. Only this led to her having to be rescued by the Adventurers Guild. Last week, they were successful in their retrieval of Maeve and went back in shortly after for Miskun. I'm happy to report that they have been successful here as well. Miskun has been returned home, and now their family can be at ease. The adventurers did note, or report, that Miskun seems to be muttering to himself quite a lot, though. Perhaps he just needs to recover from this ordeal, the shock of it all. In more lighthearted news, love is in the air. Yes, that's right. The festival of Shogra is just around the corner. You'll find the town decorated with lights and symbols of affection along the streets everywhere. In the coming evenings, there will be a procession of damsels, gentlemen, and those who don't lean either way. Those who in our society remain unbetrothed. And wish to change that, obviously. The processions will eventually lead into the town square where the festivities will begin. Feasting and dancing will be had. Be sure to stop by and enjoy the merriment. Now for some public service announcements. The council would like to announce that the Miners Guild has been founded and is currently looking for new recruits. No experience needed. If interested, you can find them headquartered in the basement level of the spire. The chorus has decided that floors 6 and 7 are not needed for this week. They said they are tired of your jokes, so they've taken them out. If you're curious, I don't recommend going up there. There will only be void. If you needed something or someone that was there, you can check back next week with customer service on floor 1 at your earliest convenience. This is a special PSA from myself and a few other mages at the Spire, and other members of the community. I mentioned previously at the top of the episode that the council had reportedly shut down my requests to set up infrastructure to secure the homesteads outside of the city for the season of frost. Well, Morthel, Zraud, the Shade of Fester, as well as Vala, and of course, myself, have pooled the resources and decided to take action into our own hands. We are forming a coalition to aid in this effort. We have a few ideas at this time of how this will work, but we should have a plan in place soon. That is all. That's all the PSAs I have for you. Now, let's get back to the broadcast. I just received word that the chorus have decided to weigh in on Thea wanting to absorb the Adventurers Guild. They put forth a message directly to the heads of Theo, Olston, Warto. The message goes as follows. Eat shit. Isn't it lovely to see a community coming together? In response, the council have decided to deny Theo's proposition. Dock workers were aghast earlier this week when an elderly man supposedly hoisted himself out of the ocean and onto the dock. The workers said the man took some rags to dry himself off, but continued to walk along his way. He was described by the workers as an older man in his 50s, maybe 60s, stark white hair, roughly 6 feet in height, and very fit for his age. He carried a saber at his side, Some of the workers suggested that he might be a pirate, though many have put forth the valid question, where ship? Also, it has to be noted that the man did not steal anything of note or threaten anyone. In other news, Old Tom has taken a break from his time with the Cultivators Club. He sobered up as much as is possible for Old Tom, and remembered he has a potion shop. He did say that from his time in the woods he discovered many new ideas for his elixirs. He kind of rambled for a while when asked about them, but a couple of the ideas were an elixir mixing the multicolored mushroom mentioned previously with others to create a concoction that will temporarily grant the drinker a random transformation. Tom is wondering if he can figure out how to make specific transformations. I forgot to mention before, so I should say now. Ingesting the pure multicolored mushroom seems to have permanent transformations. At least the alchemists who did ingest this mushroom haven't returned to normal forms yet. Sailors of the Merchant Guild have spotted what can only be described as a giant moving island. One of them said it seemed like it was on the back of a large sea creature, but it should also be noted that he had taken some of Old Tom's elixirs prior to this sighting. One thing seems to be true there. It is a rarely sighted moving island somewhere in the vicinity. I wonder if the Adventurers Guild or explorers may partake in an expedition to find this island soon. Some wildfires have gotten out of hand and burned down a number of homes in the eastern half of the city. Families have been moved into temporary structures on and within the city walls. The council have responded, saying they're going to work towards ensuring the proper care and protection of our forests to ensure this can't happen again. There is something else, though. Some of the families have reported seeing figures outside their homes just before the fires broke out. Some are claiming that this isn't the result of a wildfire, but rather a group of arsonists. What the goals of the arsonists may be, no one is sure of yet. Some have suggested a cult attempting to sacrifice people. Similarly, some suggest that instead of a sacrifice, it's purely the act of causing fires in reverence. Others have suggested it's just for the love of the game. Some have also pointed out that the Oracle's premonition, that our home will be engulfed in fire. Though it still has to be noted that she herself has said she doesn't know if her visions are quite that literal. And now, for the forecast. Tonight's forecast is brought to you by A Whisper on the Wind. The waters of the yawning maw are churning. Do not travel by sea this week. The boats may not stay afloat. Screaming can be heard from the south. The banshee have entered their hunting season. Keep to the north, lest you desire to lose your soul. Encounters on the road may not happen. If you see someone on the road, know you didn't. Keep moving. Now, let's get back to the show. This is a bit more of a personal anecdote. A rambling, I suppose it'll end up being. I've been spending more time in the woods lately, for a few reasons. One mentioned earlier, attempting to set up the measures to protect those who can't get into the city during this time. But also, I can't stop thinking about my encounter with Elva Jembird. For those who forgot or otherwise unaware, she is a Fey woman. I met her while wandering the forests near the spire. She was an odd one, and she told me I wasn't human. I've since had other experiences that make me think she might be right. But what do I even do with that information? I've been trying to find another Fae to ask them about this, but I've had no luck. So I'm just left here wondering, who or what even am I? Should I even contemplate this? Does it even really matter? Sorry, listeners. Just felt like rambling there for a second. Councilman Sundiers has recently been expressing his exasperation with the other members of the council. It seems he feels that he's the only one who actually wants to make life better for all the people of Rhythiir. Or at least that's how he feels. But he's being undermined constantly by the other members of the council. Well, from my perspective, when dealing with them recently, it seems to be one council member mostly, who, for whatever reason, holds sway with the others. An elderly man by the name of Jeremy Quentin Archibald. He's worked his way into the council and has been there for the past 147 years. That alone could be why he holds such sway with them. Archie got his start with the Merchants Guild, overseeing some of the local businesses. One day, he got in some hot water with the council. A few of the business he'd been overseeing around town noticed some of their ledgers weren't reading right, and they decided to take that to the council. For some reason, the charges were dropped a short time later. He's been brought before the council a number of times, and each time he's walked away a free man with more connections than before. Very curious. Despite his humble past, he's made surprising headway, and is now the de facto leader of the council. The other members wait for him to weigh in on subjects before speaking their own mind. By contrast, Sundiers is relatively new to the council, only being on the board for a mere 10 years. He's a mage of the Spire, and has worked continuously to use his research to better the lives of those around him. He used his affinity for altering terrain to help create a reservoir so that we could have easier access to water. Despite his advancing age, he's been spotted recently assisting and comforting victims of the fires recently. Ricky, an orphan boy who went missing some time ago, has returned home. Almost a year ago now, he wandered into the woods, and no one had seen him since. He's now returned with a new gaze in his eye. He seems to have been somewhat hardened by what he experienced, which should be no surprise. It's a miracle the child survived on his own in the woods for as long as he did. Well, I may have a bit of an explanation for you. I think Ricky spent some time in the realm of the Fae. But now that he's returned, he has requested to be inducted into the Preservers of the Owl. They are a knightly order who have somewhat fallen from grace. Corruption in their higher ranks in the past has stripped them of their role as protectors of the island. Nevertheless, Ricky has put forth his request to be made a squire of this order. There's an old man who's been screaming in the town square for a few days now. You may have been wondering, did Dave lose his job? No, rest assured, Dave is still dutifully employed by the city. The man yelling is an old immigrant from Nibiria. His name is Xenos, and he wants to sell many of his belongings. He just has too much. He lives in a mansion he built in the woods long ago. If you're interested and want directions, I'm sure you can find him most of the time in the town square, until his lungs give out. A geyser has appeared along the road to the south. It seems to spew out a mysterious golden liquid. Some have claimed this is the blood of the gods, Ichor. Many have begun making the trek down to where the geyser appeared. It's not that far, just about a day or two to the south of the city. Those who saw it have claimed the water is indeed gold, and thicker than normal water. But they're unsure about the claim of divine blood. Where this geyser came from, or where it may be going, is uncertain at this time. And now, for some messages from our patrons. The preservers of the owl have reached out to me and asked that I let you all know that they're looking for new members who are interested in protecting our home. They wish to be a contender to replace Theo due to their increasingly obvious power grabs. The knightly order is ordained by Our Lady Rhythiir, and they know trust in them has been rather low for the past decade or so, due to their previous leadership being spies for the Imperium. But they want to assure everyone that all of them have been weeded out, and they want to ensure the safety of our home once again. They've also cited that Theo has no connection to our home, and that they have routinely violated and harmed those who they should be protecting. Do you smell? Do you want to smell? Or perhaps you're injured and want a quick fix? Well then, Chevrolet has good news for you. Chevrolet, the local member of the Apothecary Guild, has opened up a shop in town. Here you can find all kinds of potions and tinctures for various uses. Soaps for cleaning yourself, tinctures to improve your health, all practical and useful. Dave, the town crier, is back with another message. Oh. The paper he gave me is sopping wet with his tears. I can't really make out any words on it. I think it says something about needing therapy. I guess I'll just have to make my own promotion for it. If you need your name or title changed, or if you just need to cry, a visit with Dave, and he's good for all three. Thank you all for supporting the show. I overheard the merchants from the Macabre discussing something called Toketh. From what they were saying, it seems like that might be the name of their sort of institution for etheric studies. Somewhere where they train individuals to become wizards, or whatever word they use for an etheric user. I just thought it was interesting to learn of another institution similar to our own, Spire, and Iranasi to the north. Another thing I learned from the conversation was something called the Sundering. I've read bits and pieces of this event from the scrolls I was able to find in the archives. But none of these ever gave too many details, just phrases like, a war of the gods. You might remember that from a previous broadcast. From the merchants, however, I learned that this sundering wasn't just a war of the gods. Rather, it was supposedly the literal creation of our planet. Our world was created through conquest. Or conflict, I suppose I should say. They weren't able to give me too many details on the war itself. Suppose that's probably shrouded in mystery everywhere. But I wonder what I could find if I traveled to Macabre. Or to the heart of it all. Speaking of Nibiria, I've heard tell of a civil war going on within the Empire. Perhaps this is the start of the fall? Or will there be inquisitions once they reassert control? It's hard to tell, since Nibiria is entirely closed off from the outside world. Only a stray rumor here and there escape the marble jaws of the Imperium. We've received word from Iranasi that storms in the north have been growing in strength. Their coastlines have been ravaged for weeks on end by bombardments of lightning and gale-force winds. They said if it weren't for the efforts of the mages up there, they could have fallen into the sea. They also had a warning for us. The storms were moving south, in our direction. Prepare, listeners. It seems Muradis's wrath is on its way to our shores. I'd like to thank you once again, dear listeners, for joining me in tonight's Spellbound Soirée. I hope you enjoyed and were able to become more informed about the world around you. Good night, and sleep well, my friends. The Spellbound Soirée is brought to you by the Eldritch Enclave Radio. Hey, it's me, the creator. I just wanted to thank you all for listening, following, and engaging in any way with the Spellbound Soirée. I love working on this world and writing all the different stories within it, and there's so much more I want to do with it. With all that said, if you're interested in some of those side stories, probably in a non-audio format, at least for now. I keep saying I need to cut that out. Cut that out of my language, not the episode. I don't care enough. Or if you would just like to support the show or support myself, you can check out the Gumroad. I mainly went with Gumroad rather than like Patreon because I kind of liked having more control over things. When I was working with Patreon, it seemed like I had to have things set a certain way, and I didn't like that as much. But you can find the link to the Gumroad in the description, or you can just go to spellboundsoiree.gumroad.com. No spaces or hyphens or anything, or any special characters for that matter. So don't worry about like the E with an accent over it. This will take you to the store page where by the time you're hearing this, there should be 3 items in the shop. A membership with 2 tiers. There isn't a whole lot to it right now. I think the like main thing in there is that rather than me having like the patron section, it would be someone from that tier at least, or like they would have a name that I would use, or like a concept of some sort. I'd still like to keep a little bit more control over it, just for to keep things uniform in the world, I guess. I don't know. I still need to like think about that a little bit, but it's in that tier, so that's there for now. It's in one of those tiers anyway. And there's 2 short stories up there right now, or there will be. I think there's one currently as of recording this, and there should be another one by the time this is uploaded. One that I wrote before Spellbound Soirée, that was sort of like the proto version of what this podcast was going to be, but I didn't really like doing it in a sort of narrative style. I wanted something that felt more like a podcast rather than like an audiobook or like an audio drama. And the other one is another story that I created sort of to go alongside Spellbound Soirée. It was sort of mentioned previously in this episode with Iasos, the narrator, if you're unaware, having traveled to Lodbrokheim with his uncle to investigate a sort of haunting or something. If you want to know more, you can read that episode, and I suggest you check it out. And again, thank you all for listening and supporting the show. I think we're over 100 followers or so on Spotify now, which is great to see. Thank you.